Imagine the scent of wood smoke drifting through the cool morning air of the African highlands. The sounds are of life, birds chirping, goats bleating, the gentle hum of a village waking up. Now imagine all of that just gone. Total silence. That was the scene on August 22nd, 1986, when a local man named Ephraim Bakari walked toward the village of Nyos. He noticed the quiet first. No birds. Then he saw them. Cattle, hundreds of them, just lying in the fields as if they'd simply fallen asleep. He entered the village. People were everywhere, on the ground, outside their huts by the roadside. They looked peaceful, like they were napping, but there was no blood, no sign of a fight. He reached down to touch a man, then a woman. They were cold. He slowly realized everyone was dead. Something had swept through this valley, a silent killer that snuffed out life, even extinguishing the flames in their cooking fires. Some lived, some died, and no one knew why. Joseph Nkwain was one of the lucky ones. He remembered feeling a strange warmth, like being wrapped in a heavy blanket that sedated him. He was in a coma for 3 hours. When he finally fought his way back to consciousness, his first thought was his daughter. He tried to wake her, but she was gone. The survivors who woke up alongside him were confused and in pain. They had strange burn-like lesions on their skin, which doctors later identified as pressure sores from being unconscious for so long. But the psychological toll was worse. Survivors' guilt ate away at them. Why was one family spared while their neighbors perished? The answer lay in the invisible flow of the killer gas, which moved in pockets, leaving some patches of air untouched while filling others with death. The world watched in horror and confusion. This was the height of the Cold War, and international experts from the US, France, and Japan descended on Cameroon, each with their own theories. Rumors flew. Was it a chemical weapon test gone wrong? A secret death ray from Israel? The medical teams performed autopsies and found the victims had all died from asphyxiation, a lack of oxygen. But their lungs were clear of smoke or water. The answer wasn't in the air people breathed, but what had replaced it? When investigators finally reached the crater lake, they were met with a terrifying sight. The normally clear blue water of Lake Nyos was now a deep, rusty red. The chemistry was simple. Iron-rich water from the bottom had been violently pushed to the surface, and upon contact with oxygen, it had rusted. A diver who braved the water found it strangely warm and cloudy. The final piece of evidence was on the shore. Vegetation was flattened and destroyed, pointing to a massive wave. But it wasn't a wave of water. It was a wave of gas, nearly 100 meters high. So what happened? Scientists call it a limnic eruption. See, Lake Nyos is special. Unlike most lakes that turn over with the seasons, Nyos is what's called a meromictic lake. Its layers don't mix. Deep beneath the lake, a volcanic vent was slowly, constantly leaking carbon dioxide into the bottom layer. For centuries, the immense pressure of the water above kept this gas dissolved, like a giant, unshaken bottle of champagne. But something triggered it. Maybe a landslide, a small earthquake, or even heavy rains that disturbed the top layer. The pressure was released. The result was a catastrophic explosion of gas. An estimated 1.6 million tons of carbon dioxide erupted from the lake. And because CO2 is 1.5 times heavier than air, it didn't dissipate. Instead, it flowed down the mountainside like an invisible river, pouring into the valleys below at nearly 50 kilometers per hour. It silently displaced the oxygen, filling the villages and suffocating almost 1,800 people and thousands of animals in their sleep. In the aftermath, the government declared the area a death zone. Over 12,000 people were moved to resettlement camps, forced to leave the land their ancestors had lived on for generations. But scientists couldn't just abandon the lake. They had to tame the beast. In 2001, a French engineering team installed a massive pipe, a giant straw reaching down to the gas-saturated bottom. This pipe now allows the trapped CO2 to vent safely and continuously into the atmosphere, creating a permanent fountain on the lake's surface. Decades later, some villagers have cautiously returned, but the fear remains. How can you ever truly trust a lake that breathes death. The story doesn't end there. The global threat is far from over. Not far from Nyos lies Lake Kivu, on the border of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Kivu is 2,000 times larger than Nyos and holds 300 times more dissolved gas. And it's not just CO2, it's also full of flammable methane. An eruption there wouldn't just be a local disaster, it would be a global catastrophe, with the potential to kill 2 million people living on its shores. The story of Lake Nyos is a humbling reminder that we are small compared to the immense, silent forces moving just beneath our feet. The abyss is quiet, but it is never truly empty. This has been the Deep End Chronicles. Subscribe for more deep dives into the world's most terrifying survival stories. Thanks for watching.